There's a point in everyone's financial journey where something almost magical happens. You log into your account one morning expecting the same slow progress, but this time, something's different. The balance jumped and you didn't do anything. Your money is suddenly making more money than you are. It's not luck. It's not a secret hack. It's just math and momentum. You see, wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. It grows in stages. 3 very specific ones where compound growth goes from being invisible to unstoppable. And once you cross each of these stages, your relationship with money will never be the same again. So if you've been saving, investing, and wondering why progress feels so painfully slow, this is the video you've been waiting for. Because once you understand these 3 milestones, you'll finally see how ordinary people, not millionaires, not trust fund heirs, quietly build real, lasting wealth.
Let's start with the milestone that changes everything. Your first $100,000. Most people think it's just 10% of a million, but that's not how compound growth works. It's actually the hardest, most frustrating, and most important part of the journey. Here's why. In the beginning, you are doing all the heavy lifting. Every dollar in that account is there because you put it there. You're saving, budgeting, investing, and the progress feels like watching paint dry. Imagine investing $500 a month at a 7% return. That's a realistic, conservative approach. You'd reach your first $100,000 in about 7 years and 9 months, almost 8 years just to hit 6 figures. It feels endless, but that's because at this stage, most of the growth is still coming from you, not from your investments. Out of that first $100,000, nearly $46,000 came from your pocket. The rest, about $54,000, came from your returns. It's not flashy yet, but this is the foundation on which everything else is built. You're learning patience, discipline, and consistency, the 3 skills that create millionaires. The truth is, the first $100,000 is the price of admission. It's the point where compound interest finally stops whispering and starts talking back. Because from here on, your money begins to pull its own weight and then some. Acceleration. $200,000 to $400,000. Now that you've hit the $100,000, the math starts working for you. And here's where most people give up right before the fun begins. That first milestone took nearly 8 years, but the second one, it only takes 5 more years to double it. You go from $100K to $200K in just over half the time. That's when you realize the snowball is moving. By the time you've invested for around 13 years, you'll have roughly $200,000. You've personally contributed about $78,000 of that, but your account shows $200K. That means $122,000 came purely from growth, money you didn't have to earn. And here's where things start to feel surreal. At the 18th year mark, you're sitting around $400,000. Of that, less than a quarter came from your own savings. The rest, nearly 3/4, came from compounding. You're now earning roughly $28,000 a year in returns alone, the same as a part-time job that works for you 24/7, doesn't complain, and never takes a vacation. This is when wealth building stops feeling like work and starts feeling like momentum. The power zone, $650,000. Here's where everything shifts, not just financially, but psychologically. Around the $650,000 mark, you hit what I like to call the freedom threshold. At this level, your investments can generate real, tangible income that changes how you see work, risk, and time. Let's put it into perspective. If you have $650,000 invested and it earns 8% return, that's $52,000 a year in passive income. That's money your portfolio earns whether you show up for work or not. It's not quit your job money yet, but it's the moment you realize you could step back if you had to. You're not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. Losing a job becomes an inconvenience, not a crisis. And here's something most people never think about. When your basic living costs are partly covered by your investments, your relationship with risk transforms. Suddenly, you can take chances you couldn't before. Start a business, take a sabbatical, go back to school, travel. Because your money has become your safety net. That's the difference between surviving and thriving. Wealth isn't about buying things. It's about buying time. And at $650,000, you've officially begun doing that.
The $1,000,000 shift. Finally, the big one. The milestone everyone dreams about. $1 million. Reaching $1 million doesn't make you a superhero or a lottery winner. It makes you someone who stuck with the process long enough to let compounding do its job. If you kept investing that same $500 per month with 7% returns, you'd hit your first million in roughly 29 years. That's 3 decades of consistency. But once you get there, everything about your financial life changes. It's not just the money. It's what it represents: patience, control, and independence. You've proven that you can build wealth from nothing. You don't have to chase get-rich-quick schemes. You don't have to gamble or guess. And here's the best part. Once you hit that first million, the math gets ridiculous. You only need your portfolio to grow by 50% to reach 1.5 million. Another 50% and you're at 2 million. And the jump from 2 million to 3 million, that's just another 50%. Each new million becomes easier than the last because every dollar you already have is working full-time to create more. That's why the wealthy say money makes money, not because they're lucky, but because their dollars never sleep. The truth about crashes, fear, and patience. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but what about market crashes? What if everything tanks right when I need it most? Fair question. Here's what decades of history have shown. If you're investing regularly, downturns actually help you. When prices fall, your monthly contributions buy more shares. And when the market recovers, as it always has, those extra shares amplify your gains. That's why long-term investors don't panic during bear markets. They smile. They know they're planting seeds while everyone else is running scared. Building wealth isn't about timing the market. It's about time in the market. And if you stick to that, the numbers will take care of themselves. Your future self will thank you. So let's recap the 3 turning points that completely shift your financial reality. $100,000 when compound interest wakes up. $650,000 when your money starts buying you time. And $1 million when you realize you've won the quiet game of wealth. The math doesn't lie, but it does require something our culture rarely rewards: patience. Because here's the truth: the time will pass either way. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's coming. The only question is whether you'll look back and wish you'd started, or look back and thank yourself for doing it. Start small, stay consistent, and let time do the heavy lifting. If this video helped you understand how wealth really grows, hit like, subscribe to Investitune, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Remember, financial freedom doesn't come from luck. It comes from discipline, patience, and the power of compound growth.